This first video, I'd like to show off some of the organizational features of the rig and the UI. You see here, the face is a complete mess. There's controls everywhere. You're not sure which is. There are actually guides and animation controls visible at the moment. I've done that specifically to show you some of these features. If I bring up the UI, we have a filtered list of all the different components and all of the different parts of those components. So if we first go to the brow, you'll see here a list of all of the different tags that have been made to different parts of the component. If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll actually see every single node of any interest that is in that component. You notice everything is brow. You have animation curves that actually do weighting. You have all of your nodes. So if I actually go to brow and I just turn off the visibility, you notice several things just happened. Several things just disappeared. So if I grab, you have here two components. One is the brow guide and one is the actual brow rig. The brow rig is going to be the thing that has animation controls and things like that. The brow guide is what you fit. If I turn those both back on, you see quite a few things turn off. I think the eye is a huge mess right now. So, and also the mouth. And so maybe we can focus on the mouth really quick because it's probably the most complicated thing. So first, what I want to do is just, I can't think because there's so much stuff on the screen. So what I want to do is just go through and turn everything off and then selectively turn things back on of interest. So let's say I'm interested in the mouth, but first, before turning on any of the animation controls, I just want to see the guide. I want to see what it looks like. And you see here, this is the guide. If I turn off the geometry, this is the mouth right here, the marquee select. And if I move these things, the rig's going to move and everything else. So if we turn the geometry back on and we move one of these guides, you see here it's going to actually deform the face, which is not something we want to do. So if you want to actually place these guides, you need to turn the caching off. So right now it caches everything. When it caches everything, it's a lot faster, but you can't really place your guides. So we come down here and you have two buttons, uncache, curve weights, and uncache slide deformers. So if I click on both of those, if you see me pull on the guide, you'll notice that the geometry is no longer being deformed. So you can actually move quite a few things, and I'll go through what is actually moved. I'm going to turn everything off, and then I'll slowly turn things back on. So you have your guide. If you turn on the guide, you'll see individual controls. Those are specifically tagged as guide. So you see here, there's a Boolean that's all caps, and it just says guide. And in the UI, that shows up as this tag under the tag filter. You turn it on and you can turn it off. Each of these things are on specific nodes, and they're all very easy to add, and they've all been carefully added with very specific reasons. If you turn on the guide geo, and actually I'm going to just isolate that. You see the guide geo. This is everything in the face. Of course, I've got the turn off some of this other geo. Eventually, all of this stuff is going to be in its own layer or its own component, so you don't really have to worry about turning the visibility off of the body because you'll have a component that's geometry, and you just go to the geometry component, you turn it off, all this other stuff disappears. But for now, it's a little bit messier than that. So if we go back to the guide and we turn on the guide geo, you see this is all guide geo. Another feature that I wanted to add is the selectable. This is going to make everything, it's going to toggle between being selectable and not selectable, and that's really important because sometimes there are things that you want to be able to select and you want to be visible but unselectable, and this feature really helps with that. So right now, I actually want to just show the curves of the lips. These are volume deformation controls that make the lips deform without collapsing, without the geometry turning into paper wrapper and collapsing on itself. So I want this geometry to be unselectable, but the curves to be selectable. So what I can do is find the slide geo, tell it not to be selectable, and the the projection mesh, tell it to not be selectable, and then and then tell the lip volume curves to be visible and selectable. And what we have here is not working. Just 1 second, sorry. There we go. So now, and one last one. And it's not working. That's sad. Okay, now it's working. I have some issues to work out, obviously, with the toggling, but now we have the geometry of the slide is still visible, but only selectable are the curves that we're using for the volume and the lips. If we turn on the visibility of the body, you can see where those curves are in terms of the actual geometry. I'm going to turn the body rig to be unselectable and just look at. So now we have, you can actually go through and fit these curves if you want. You can do that, or we can turn on the guide controls, and you can actually see what it looks like when you're fitting this mesh in the rig. You can do all kinds of things. You can fit this. If you wanted to, the way the guides export, you could actually go in and you could select that slide geo, and you could actually move points, and you could save out the geometry.